All right. So, Brett, how we doing?
Doing all right.
Yeah, yeah, it's we're into paddle season now, huh?
Yeah, it's been kind of a slow start now with all the rain and everything. I imagine a lot of the guys haven't been out as much as they usually do because of the.
Yeah, man, I went out in my kayak a few times, but up until today, I was like, man, do I really want to take my $6,000 boat out in the and this right now? It,
Exactly.
yeah, it's I mean, that current was ripping still today. Like up at Town Line, it was above the banks in a lot of spots.
Oh yeah, here too. Well, I'm on Forest Lake, but it runs into the Rifle River, and I've been unable to get out there on the Rifle lately because it's been so high. I was on there a couple weeks ago doing some fishing, but it's been too flooded.
Oh yeah, yeah. Can you take a racing canoe on the rifle?
You got to be really careful, and there's certain spots you can go. I, down if you go below Omer, you can paddle. There's a stretch that you paddle maybe an hour and a half, down and up, and it's not too bad. It's not the rest of the is so rocky. I'm paddling older canoes that are
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Somebody
there.
told me.
Yeah. So you said you paddle older canoes typically on that stretch,
Yes, I paddle older canoes, kind of stuff that can handle the rocks, because
right?
I put a couple holes in it, and the last couple of years I had to do some patching. So
What you have that JD Pro 2, right?
not anymore. No, I sold it after the last time I raced the marathon. I sold it, but I've got oh gosh, it's an old Sawyer 1973 um, canoe that I bought maybe 10, 12 years ago, and it was one they raced in the amateur class in the AuSable.
Okay.
And it's a nice canoe to practice in, tour, fish. Well, what's
Right.
that? Yes. Um, Somebody's calling me, trying to bug me, but
Oh.
let me send a message here. Okay, so I'm back. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're all right. You're all good. So I guess I want to touch base. Like, I know you had a lot of impressive years in the AuSable, 9 wins, if I'm correct. Yep, 9 wins, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
You had what, 4 with your Uncle Butch and then 5 with Surge?
Yeah, four with Butch and five with Surge, and then I actually retired at that point.
Oh,
Um,
did you?
yeah, 92, I had retired
Okay.
from canoe race. It was a good time to retire. I had my boys. I had Brett, and I
Yep.
was and want to spend more time with raising kids and stuff. So I stopped racing. And it had mixed feelings. I didn't want to quit. One side of me didn't want to quit, and I was kind of had a good string going. So, but
Yeah, I would say a good string. uh, but then I know you got back into it for a few years. Are you still into it, or are you retired again, or just kind of playing it by ear?
well, when I retired, I never thought I'd race it again. It was kind of cool because my dad, he was always a Rocky Marciano fan, and he says, well, you want to retire on top. And so I thought, well, that sounds pretty cool. Retire on top while when you're at your peak, right? And because that's what he did. He retired, you know, well, Marciano was undefeated, but I thought, well, we won, raised kids, I'll retire. And at that time, I'd been kind of the last couple of years chasing Ralph Sawyer, who was like kind of a, um, I guess he was somebody I really looked up to. I mean, everybody at the time, he was kind of the canoe god, right? It was Ralph.
Right.
And he had won the AuSable more than anybody else. He had won 8, and that he was the all-time champ at that time. And I got to meet Ralph, and he had moved out west, and he came back to Michigan, and it was in the mid '80s. He came back to Michigan, and after the race, he watched a little bit of the race, and he came over, and I got to actually paddle with Ralph, and it was such an honor. I just he was so fast, like I couldn't believe how, because he had raced in a long time. He was still super fast,
Right.
and it was just something that I remember for the rest of my life. He says get to paddle with Ralph Sawyer, and so he was somebody I looked up to a lot, and I kind of chased him through the years. And as I won 6 or 7, everybody's kind of wondering, when are you going to catch up to Ralph? He's the all-time champ, and I thought, well, it'd be cool, if somehow I could keep working and reach that goal. And
Right.
so in 1992, when Serge and I won, I had won 9, so I was, lucky. I guess I was the all-time champ for a little while, and after that, a few years later, Serge passed me for most wins, but it was a long lifetime goal that I kind of had. I wanted to, not at first, but after we won a few times, I could see
Right.
that goal maybe was approachable if I worked hard and trained hard. Um, so that's why I retired at that point. And so I hadn't really, I did a few like small races. It was like I would jump into maybe do the Klondike, and that was
Right.
my favorite race. To go to the Klondike, and it was the first race of the year. And back then it was a real Klondike because we did it in February. And
Oh, wow. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
it was my favorite race. You kind of
right.
kick.
So guys, for those of you who complain about being cold now, they used to do it in February.
It went on February for years, and it
Right.
was in Grayling.
Yeah. It started like right at the race.
Yeah,
Right.
started at Rays, and then it went down and back up type thing. And I was always so excited about that race. It was always my kind of my kickoff race. I wanted
Right.
to always, it's for whatever reason, to start the season off right and have a good race there. And I raced with a lot of different partners in that race. So I'd come back after I'd retire and do that race, and I was really lucky. I got to race with some good paddlers. I got to race with Matt Reimer and Bill Taranjo and Tony Short and Butch and Bruce Barton, Greg Barton, my dad. And I ended up figuring out, after I would come back and do this, that I actually won this goofy race 25 times.
Oh, wow.
So, but that was the only race I would do after I was retired. I was going
Right.
to do that race. And I hadn't trained a ton. So it was about a 40-minute race. So it didn't kill me because I hadn't got a ton of hours in the boat.
Right.
That was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't even know how you guys do that, because like I feel it right now. I'm a little late to the party on getting training this year, and I'm like, man, I better get going. And some people are like, oh yeah, I got like 30 hours in this year, and I'll get like a top 20 finish. So I guess after a while, you just get the technique down, and it all becomes second nature. Or how's that work being
I,
at the top there?
I was kind of lucky because I lived, well, we lived on the river. So I lived wasn't really on the river, but it's like 100 feet away from the river. And so I could drag my canoe down to the river and go. And being a young guy in Grayling, now there's tons of stuff to do in Grayling, right? But when I was a kid growing up, there wasn't much to do other than shovel snow and chop firewood. So,
Right.
so when you got done, when you got done with that, the chores, then you would go out in the canoe, and that was kind of the fun thing to do, go canoeing after chopping wood and shoveling snow. So
Oh yeah.
kind of the treat, but But nowadays there's, people got a lot more stuff. There's a lot, with this internet and stuff, everybody's, watching stuff on the internet. Well, we didn't have that when I was a kid. So
Right.
it was kind of a blessing, I think, that I didn't have that stuff. So we could
I,
just time
I I'm jealous, honestly. I think, well, I didn't really have internet as a kid. It didn't really start. I don't think we got internet till I was like 12 or something like that, 12, 13. And I still wasn't really something that you spent a lot of time on till I was late teens, early 20s. So yeah, I was outside a lot as a kid. I grew up in Bay City, so not as much fun, didn't have as much outdoorsy stuff to do, but we still made the most of it.
Yeah, yeah. The Bay City is a good place. I did a lot of paddling there too at the where the rowing club is. And
Yep, the rowing club, and then the Cuckolin is a really good place too.
yeah.
We actually talked. I don't know how serious it is, but we talked about trying to get that race back going here within the next couple of years. I know we
Okay.
did it a couple of years, and then it kind of fell off, but we might try and get it back going. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah. So how did you even like, other than obviously growing up in Grayling, that's a really good start for getting into marathon canoe paddling. But how'd you personally get involved in it?
My dad took me to the race. So we lived, right by the river. So the race is going right by us. We lived
Right.
right across the river from Penrod. So I remember my dad taking me to the race, and I was just a very young kid. I'm going to say it was probably like 1970, right, maybe 1970. And so I was born in 63, so I wasn't very old.
Right.
And so we went there. I remember he was cheering for Jack Coca. So Jack went by at the start, and my dad's cheering for him. And there's so much excitement. Even back then, there was a huge crowd, and that's just this cool. It's right behind my house, and there's so much excitement about it. And then my dad got interested in canoeing, and my uncle Butch. So they actually started at night. I actually have a little, oh, it's a little memento from the time when they first started. It was like a they raced a canoe race in honor in 1972, and it had a little patch that had 1972 with a
Okay.
canoe. I have it somewhere here, but so that was really the first race that my family did, and it was pretty cool because they were building the canoe. The guys don't realize how lucky they have it nowadays because they just call up and buy a canoe and pick it
Right.
up, whatever, have the canoe delivered. But we had to build our canoe. I remember my dad and my uncle building this canoe and cedar canoe. And I remember Jay Stefan Sr. coming over because he was the experienced guy because he had won the marathon 3 times and he was a real good canoe builder and he built riverboats. So
Right.
he came over and I think the canoe was being built in my Uncle Butch's garage. And I remember as a kid, Jay Stefan came over. It was a big thing because he was champion years ago, and he was going to help to show some stuff about building this canoe. And it was about, I'm going to say the canoe was about 3/4 of the way built when he came over. And my job was to sand this canoe paddle. So my Uncle Butch was building this canoe paddle, and the blade was about this wide on it. And he had this thing ground down, and he handed it to me, here, sand on this. That was just this little kid, running around the garage in the way.
Right.
I don't even know how old I would have been. I was 10 years old or whatever. But I remember my job was to sand on this paddle blade, right? And so they got the canoe built and race. So we started at that point, and then I remember as a kid, the grown-ups would go paddling, and I was this little pesky kid that wanted to go, with the adults paddling.
Yep.
Oh no, you can't go. And I didn't. It just kind of motivated me to go more, right? So when you're 12 years old and you can't go, and I'm like, oh, I want to go. So before long, I'm paddling with the adults and paddling with them every day, all summer long, right? You get as a student at grilling schools, right? You got the summers off, so
Yep.
I would just go paddling with all the adults, and it really helped me because I got to paddle with really good guys. So I'm paddling with the Jack Coca, Jack was one of the best paddlers, out there. He was always competing to the top three, four. I think he was second a bunch of times. So he was right there in the thick of things. He was really
Right.
good. And I remember I was small back then, because I was a kid, and I would he had a sandbag for me. So I carried the sandbag and put it in the canoe, the front of the canoe.
Yep.
And we had straight paddles. So I know if there's any canoe racers watching the video, there's straight paddles. Yeah, we use straight paddles and back then out of wood. So they're big, heavy wood paddles. And it took a while to get the bent shaft paddles. Didn't come in for a few years later, right? So we're using this big straight paddles and wood cedar canoes. The canoes are made out of cedar, so I was getting to paddle with some good guys, Butch, my dad, Jack Coca, and a bunch of other guys up in Grayling, and it was pretty competitive on the weekends training, and it really helped me get to where I was later, because I got to paddle
Right.
with good. It makes a big difference.
Yes, it does. And that's something I learned. Like, I only had a couple people because I wasn't really introduced to the sport till after I did my first marathon. And after I did my first one and started talking to more people, I started to realize that everything I did during the first one was pretty much wrong. So,
Yeah, it's tough, and particularly, like you started paddling, you're down in the Bay City area, and the river's, kind of wide, and you get up in Grayling, and then all of a sudden, you're in
you
all
get,
these turns and corn.
yeah, you got current you got current that you got to account for, whereas the rivers in Bay City really don't have much current.
In the wakes and this sort of thing,
Yeah.
wakes. Um, so it's a big difference for you guys down there to move up here, and it takes a while to.
Oh yeah. And when I actually was able to move up here, I immediately skyrocketed in how well I figured out how to adjust for the corners, because even after my second one, I still really didn't have much of an idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now you're up there, it'll become second nature
Yeah.
to you.
I mean, it really does click the more you get to paddle on technical stuff rather than,
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, paddling down there is still good for like the strength work and pond work and stuff like that, and suck water. You definitely get a good you get good at that by paddling on the Cucahoon or the Saginaw River, but you don't really get to learn the technical aspects of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a big difference. And the wakes too. A lot of people, when you're paddling by yourself all the time in deep water, it's a big difference. And all of a sudden you're in a small river with a bunch of other canoes, and that's a whole other thing,
Oh yeah,
yeah, to get prepared for. And that's something I think makes you a lot better if you get a lot of other canoes.
definitely. I would agree with that. Yeah, because weight climbing is still like, I mean, I've done 4 marathons now, and it's still something like climbing over a wake. I still can struggle with it at times.
Oh,
So,
yeah, exactly.
and yeah. So, what if you had to pick one? What would be your favorite marathon you've done?
The favorite marathon. Well, there'd be two of them, right? There'd be, well, three. Three of them would be my favorite. The first one when I was 16, and there's just so much excitement when you're such a young guy. And I was racing with Steve Krantz, and Steve was a powerhouse. He was super strong, and he probably still is. He's just a real strong, speedy guy. And there were a lot of good teams in the race that year. He had Claude and Serge Corbin and Big John and Kellogg's brother. So there was lots of real good teams. Butch was in there. Bob Zavro was in there. So we had really good competition that year. And we had built a cedar canoe, or Steve's brother built the canoe, a cedar canoe. and we had to get the seat way back for me because I was kind of light when I was 16. Being just a sophomore in high school or something.
Right.
And it was really cool because I think we opened up like about a 5 minute lead. We had about a 5 minute lead on Corbin's and Big John. That was it was a surprise to us, to find ourselves, boy, we're really moving good. And we actually went under Parmley Bridge, and we hit the bridge, which is a bad move. I recommend not doing that. So we hit the bridge, and I never forget, we had these solid oak gunnels on the wood strip boat, and we hit it with the left side of the boat, and it tore the whole gunnel off the left side of the boat. And then we got like a 6 minute lead, and it made us really gun shy for a while. We kind of, I think, a little nervous, a little gun shy, and watching where we're really going. And Big John and Claude and Serge Corbin caught us at foot, or no, excuse me, they caught us at Mayo Dam, just right before the dam. So we all raced into the dam, all three canoes next to each other. And the dam it was 1979. So the dam in 1979 was a lot different than the dam now. It had just a little narrow trail, enough for one canoe to run down, and it's all thick brush on all sides of you as you went proceeded down the hill.
Okay, so it's kind of like the portages in New York, kind of
Yeah,
like those.
yeah, but even worse. It was just
Oh,
like a little trail that some guys would walk up and down fishing. It was just on each side,
okay.
so thick brush with the little dinky trail. And we come up at the dam. We jumped out. I think somebody got on the wall first. I don't know if it was Claude or Serge or Claude and Serge or Big Joe. Somebody got on there was one little spot on the wall to get out. We jumped in the water and threw the boat up on the dam. So we all got on the dam at the same time. We were all trying to run down the stupid little trail at the same time, three boats. And Serge's boat hit our boat, and we went, as we're running down the hill full speed. Well, we veered out into the woods, and we ran out of the woods and fell and crashed. And we never saw those guys by the time we got, back on the trail and running down.
Right.
Completely lost them, but we ended up third, and there was excitement for me. That was huge. And then of course, the first time Butch and I won, that was huge too, because it was kind of we had to work a lot of years to get to that where
Right.
we could win, but we were competing against each other all the time. That was the thing about Butch and I. He was racing. He had good partners. I had good partners. So we were kind of competing against each other. And after a while, I think we just decided, well, it'd be kind of cool if we raced together. It'd be kind of
Right.
better for the family. It's like my dad, he's watching the race, while he's cheering for his brother, and his brother's racing against his son. So my grandfather is cheering for his grandson and his son. So it kind of cool if we could get in the same boat, right? So we get
Right.
in the same boat, and that would be kind of cool for the family too. It'd be easier for them. So, and Butch had did really good for a lot of years, and he had been knocking on the door, winning. He's finishing third and fourth every year, and as a teenager, I was doing the same thing. I think I was fourth, third, and then I finished second. So we're right in there. So if we combine together, and he had real good attributes that helped me as a paddler. He had great endurance, and I had real good speed. So when we combined, we had that together. We had the fast stuff,
Right.
had the endurance, and he was really good at running the canoe, and he being a bow guy. Probably there's a lot of different aspects of canoeing, and the one thing that he did better than anybody ever been in the boat with was run the river. And he did it by concentrating and starting upriver. So like he would go around a corner. As soon as he got around that corner, he was looking at the corner way down the river and lining the boat up and making sure that that corner was done as easy as possible so that the boat was set up to do the corner.
Right.
And a lot of people, they would wait till they get to the corner and then, start drawing and, leaning the boat. He would actually, we really concentrated on being set. The boat would be lined up to do the corners. And that's what he did really, really outstanding. He'd be pushing the nose of the canoe just a little bit or drawing a little bit and just getting a perfect angle for the corner. And so he did that really good, and he had great endurance. And we got to, since he didn't live far from me, we could train a lot. And so we trained a lot. So the first time I won the race with him, it was just a great moment. I mean, it was a great moment for us. It was a great moment for our family, like,
Right. Absolutely.
so it was a real memorable time, but just a real tough guy. And I look back at some of the times we had, the one stretch, was it Alcona allowed the real long one?
Yeah.
I look at the times now. We still, I think the last time I looked, we still had the second fastest time of all time in that stretch. And we used, and then we used in the old style canoes and wooden paddles, believe it or not.
Right. Yeah, that's very impressive. That makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, and the only time I did it faster, I did it with Surge. We did it, but we had a little faster canoes and carbon paddles, and but yeah, he taught me a lot, and just a tough guy, and it was a great experience. Paddling. It was 4 years with him.
Yeah, I know. I know at this point I'll probably never be like on top by any means, so it's really cool to hear that perspective. I'm still fighting for the top 40. I got 36 in my last one, and I'm still trying to improve on that a little ways, but
Well, how old are you?
33.
I think when Butch won his first marathon, I think he was 33, 34. Yeah, so Ron Williams raced with Big John, and he didn't start racing until he was like that age, and he ended up winning the marathon and the classic. He won with Surge the classic, and then he won the marathon with Big John. So
Okay.
he didn't start paddling until he was your age. So so it's possible,
Yeah, anything's possible, I suppose.
get with the right partner and get the right training in, get
And,
yourself.
and what do you recommend for like training regimen for someone who's looking to get better? How would you do it? Like, would you train hard every time? How often would you train? What?
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to train, everybody's different. Okay, so what I mean by that is we all have different strengths and different weaknesses that we bring to the table, and you really got to take a deep look at yourself as a paddler and an athlete, and find out what your weak spots are. And everybody has different weak spots, and then what your strong points are. Well, your strong points, you tweak them and make them a little bit better, but you really have to focus a lot on your weak spots, because that's what's slowing you down. So, and it could be, maybe you need a little bit more endurance, or maybe you need a little bit more strength or a little bit more speed. So you figure out what is it you need, and then focus your attention on that for your training, and then that'll help you a lot. And a lot of people, they don't do that. I think they just go do the same workout every day, and I think that's one of the things that helped me a lot, is as I spent a lot of time working on things I thought, and that can change too. You can your strengths and weaknesses can change as over the years. So you
Right.
might, you might have to change or tweak things a little bit to improve them. And that's what I've focused a lot on that.
Are you gonna get back in and paddle boat 69 again this year, you think?
I'm not planning on it, but it's you never know. I mean, I never uh, uh, count things out or whatever. But I've been working a lot. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, if we'll see. We're not planning, but you never know. I mean, I've had fun though. I took 30 years off of the big race, and then I came back and did a couple. Did three. What we raced with Ryan Halstead. Love that. Ryan's a great guy. Um, Raced with Eisendorf, raced with Patrick. We had pretty good races with everybody. I mean, Patrick and I had a rough go. We put three big holes in the boat. That's the first time that ever happened to me. We put three holes in the boat, about 3 foot long. We were lucky we didn't sink all the time, but we we went through a lot of tape
Oh yeah. Repairs on the fly.
repairs on the fly, and but yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yeah. I gotta say, I personally liked racing that number a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I feel like it's lucky. Got me my first top 40.
there you go. Well, I had luck with that number. The first time I got that number, they gave it to me in Canada. So I was just a young boy, and they issued me that number up in Quebec. So I got that number at the Classic, and I said, that's a cool number. I'll take it back to Michigan, and I'll be that number in Michigan. So that's where that. So I got that number. It was just a matter of chance. They just gave it to me at the Classic one year, and I said, "Well, that's cool. I'll use it again."
There you go. Yeah. And you 9 marathon wins later with it, right? Or were you
Well,
ever
but actually, I think the first marathon we won, we used Butch's number, and Butch's number was number two.
okay?
So we may have raced. I think we raced Butch's boat. Maybe we used this boat a couple times. Maybe we've used number two a couple times. This doesn't Halstead use number two? No.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So we kept the tradition up. That's a good number. So it's
So
9-2.
one more question before I let you go. How'd you transition? Because you had a lot of luck obviously racing with Butch. How'd you transition and get to racing with Surge?
Well, I known Serge. We've been friends since 1979 when I'm paddling. They raced him into the dam at Mayo Dam as a kid, and so we were friends since then. And I was racing the New York race, and I was racing with Nick Bauer. And Serge raced with Solomon, and we had a real neck to neck race with those guys in the General Clinton one year, and we raced it out with Serge for 5 hours, really hard, and he ended up getting away from us and beating us. And I think after that we were visiting. Said, maybe we'll talk and race sometime, And it wasn't soon after. I think maybe the next year or the year after, he called me and wanted. He said, "Let's race that Michigan race together." And I said, "Okay, so let's give it a try." And we had a lot of fun. And so we had a lot of fun, and we were a real good team together. It seemed like because he had this Superman endurance, he could just go so
Right.
fast. And then I had a real good quick acceleration, so it helped get the boat going, and then he could just keep it flying forever. So it worked. It worked well for us, and um, we were kind of innovative too. I guess we were racing the Classic the first time we raced the Classic together, and we were getting ready for the race and training, and we were paddling a shallow stretch on the St. Maurice River. And we hit the shallow stretch, and the boat our boat was balanced really good until we get to the shallow stretch, and we were training for the race. And it just seemed like the back end was, I was just so I was a kind of a big stern guy when I got, when I was racing with Surge and
Yeah.
a couple of years racing with Butch. I mean, I was weighing like 170, 175. For a stern guy, I guess that's one of the bigger ones, the bigger stern guys at that time. But the problem was I was back too far. So I told Serge, I said, we got to figure a way to move me ahead in the canoe and the stern when we hit the shallows. So we got to figure a way to make the seat move. So we got back to his shop after the workout, and we started working on that. And when we actually invented the back sliding seat.
Oh, like the rack seat that you have?
Yeah, we invented that. So if you see them in the canoes, we invented it in
I don't
1991.
Oh wow. I don't really know of any canoes that don't have that anymore.
Exactly, and we were the only ones in 1991 that had it. And it started out that we had to connect the seat to the footrest, and we got back to his shop and we're looking around for something that we could do that with. And he ended up he had these arrows there, and so we took these carbon arrow shafts and we drilled holes. We mounted it with the seat, and then mounted them to the footrest, and then we developed a slide system on the sides. And he had these big chunks of like a really hard like white nylon, and we used them
Yeah.
and slide these sliders. So it took us a few hours, but we put it together. We invented the back sliding seat. It was funny because we're trying to keep it a secret, and we used it that year. And Treebold and Rudquist, they were our competition in the classic that year. They were right, they were on us pretty good for a while. And I think they see me slide ahead or slide back, and they started looking at our boat after the race. So the very next year in '92, they had a sliding back seat in their canoe. So we were the only two teams that had them. They had it and we had it. And then in the next year, everybody had them. They started mass producing them, but
Right.
it was a good system, a good system to have. So
Yeah. It still is to this day.
yeah, particularly when you have the bigger a bigger guy in the stern, because you want to get him ahead in the real shallows and
Right.
back deep. So it worked good. We were in the V1, I think. So yeah, worked good.
That's awesome. And you said you were really good friends with him. Do you still stay in contact with Serge?
That's funny because I talked to him 2 nights ago. We visited.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's still there's still cold and there's still a little bit of snow in the woods up in Quebec
I bet there is.
and high water and stuff. So I think he went to Texas. He told me he went to Texas, did a little fishing and stuff. Went to Chris Eisendorf, so um he had fun. So yeah, about 3 nights ago I visited with him. Yeah. I
That's
would say
awesome.
a few times a year we talk, yeah.
All righty, Brett. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here and talking to me. It's been awesome to have you on, and we'll have to do this again and maybe get out and paddle sometime or something.
Yeah, I'd like that. Yeah, stay in touch and we'll give it a whirl.
All righty, sir. I appreciate it. You have a good night.
You take care, buddy. Have a good one.
Yep.
Bye bye.